Hello, everybody. Welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So, you've probably seen the show before. You know the drill. Every Monday, after we're done bagging and boarding the comics, we pull aside the ones we really want to read, the ones we know people want to hear a lot about. We read them and we do what we call a spoiler light review show. We will tell you sort of the spec reasons why you might want the comics, if there's any major first appearances or things like that. But we're also going to tell you the plots of the comics without doing a play-by-play. That way, it is fun for you to read them on your own. It's more than you'll get reading the solicitations. It's enough that when you go into your store, you'll go, oh, that one sounded good. That's sci-fi. That sounded like a really cool premise. But we're not going to ruin the read for you. That is the purpose of our show. So a little bit, I'd say like a small to medium week
Yeah.
this time. Also, Diamond Comics did not get us the stuff that they shipped this week. Luckily, it is a pretty small week, so they do Image, they do a lot of the indie books. However, we did get advanced copies, a lot of them, so we will still be talking about many of those.
You just won't see us holding up the cover
Yeah,
here. Yeah.
correct. We do have all the Marvel and all the DC, however. So without further ado, let's go.
Yeah, starting off with a big one from DC, we have Flashpoint Beyond number 0. They love their zeros and their alphas and omega issues and everything in comics. Um, but don't skip this one if you're planning on reading the Flashpoint Beyond. So I'll start by saying that you don't necessarily have to have read the original Flashpoint back from 2011 ish, but it's really going to help you out with some of the characters and some of the scenarios that some of the characters find themselves in. So, what is this about? It starts with, as you've probably seen in the back of a lot of DC books, the first few pages of this, Batman is kind of not breaking into a vault. It's funny. It's like the vault door's open. I don't know how it got open, but there's something in there that he is looking for, with the assistance of Mime and Marionette, who were new characters from the Doomsday Clock story, also written by Jeff Johns. But I'll say too, um, as far as this issue, that's all you really need to know about Doomsday Clock and all of that. Just these two characters in here. But Batman's getting something out. I won't reveal what it is. If you haven't read the preview page, it does give away a little bit in that. But it does have something to do with the Time Masters. Time Masters are a long running DC organization of time traveling heroes like Rip Hunter, Booster Gold, and various other ones. So that is the beginning of our story. Then we do jump to Thomas Wayne, who from the Flashpoint universe became Batman when Bruce was killed. But he's a much darker, vengeful Batman. But he pretty much thought that his universe was wiped away at the end of Flashpoint, and he's kind of been bouncing around since then. But he wakes up in his origin universe, his Flashpoint universe, in a bar, getting yelled at by the Penguin. It's a very interesting setup to this, but a lot of this is him trying to figure out why his universe is still around and what happened, basically. So, one of the main people he's going to go and find is Barry Allen. And Barry Allen in this universe was not the Flash. That was the whole point of the original Flashpoint, was Barry Allen running back in time to save his mother from getting killed by Reverse Flash. So, you've got kind of the other world versions of a lot of characters, like this more timid, nervous version of Barry Allen, who just, you can definitely tell his life didn't go the way it was meant to go. And there's also characters that are referenced from the original Flashpoint, like Abin Sur as the Green Lantern, Element Woman, but they're not too focused, at least not in this issue. It is a very good setup issue for what's to come. It definitely, fills that quota of being a zero issue. Like, you haven't really got into all the action, but you're kind of hinted at what's going to be coming up. So, I really enjoyed this issue. The art by Eduardo Rizzo. If you've read the Flashpoint Batman that they just reprinted a week or so ago, it's that same team working on this. So, really good. I'm really interested to get into the main series, there's a lot of really cool stuff, bringing back in that Emperor Aquaman, and some of his kind of lackeys in this are pretty scary as well. So if you're planning on reading the Flashpoint Beyond story, definitely pick this one up. If you haven't read Flashpoint, it won't be um, impenetrable to get into this, but it does help out, and I do recommend the original Flashpoint. I really like that story. So, yeah, here is our A cover. I'll say out of all the characters on that cover, I think maybe two of them appear. But they're sure to be...
With Batman being one.
And Batman is being
wow.
one of them. So, and I mentioned the other one. So, that is our A cover. And this is our Eduardo Rizzo variant. And you can tell with Jeff Johns writing this, there's going to be some lasting effects.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't do too many small contained stories. Even if he does, a lot gets taken out of them and used elsewhere. He's a great world builder. So
I'm glad to see Mime and Marionette back, and I'm also glad to hear that people don't have to know all the ins and outs of Doomsday Clock, because there were lots of ins and outs to that. They were cool characters that I was hoping I would see more of afterwards, but I think everyone else was like, we don't want to touch Jeff Johns' creations. Well,
Yeah.
And then he got plucked away to do like the TV stuff for DC for a while. But he never strays too far from comics.
Yes, and those characters are great in this as well. I don't even know how much they're going to be showing up in this. You know, it kind of looks like they do their job and leave.
Mm-hmm.
But there is, I mean, I love Mime. I love his invisible guns. Batman has to disarm his invisible gun and stuff. It's like, Batman will play along with you. So, great issue. I suggest picking it up. It was probably one of my favorite reads of the week.
Okay, so here's a big one everyone's been waiting for this week is Black Panther #5. Why is that? Because issue 3 was the first appearance of a new Wakandan hero, although he's not a hero yet. He's going to be. That's what Marvel's saying. His name is Tozin. Issue 4 he was not in, and this is the issue he was supposed to return in and have his second appearance. Now, before I get to that, I will say that unfortunately it is another week of bad Marvel cover stock.
No!
Yes, the cover stock, it still feels like the interior pages. We've reported that the last 2 weeks. This is the third week running for this. Marvel says they have they've switched printers from it. But you got to remember, they put these orders in weeks and weeks in advance. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a little while before that shifts. Let's all just pray to anything above that, that this is the last week of these terrible cover stock for Marvel. Beyond that, I want to point out that this is an Ultimate Fallout 4 homage cover.
Yeah. It's so hard to tell with the color changes. It's not as dark as that original.
Which, of course, you know, it was a huge issue because it was first Miles. So if y'all are hoping that this is like a big moment for Tozin, I have bad news on this. So I read the issue. Tozin is in exactly 3 panels. 3 panels. And of those 3 panels, he only speaks in one, and he says 4 words. Not much of a second appearance, okay? No. Not much. So,
but more than the last issue, which he did not appear in at all.
Yeah, he didn't appear in it at all. That's true. So Tozin is there, but hardly anything at all. I mean, if you're collecting all his stuff, you still need it. Yeah. I mean, a second appearance is a second appearance, even if it's like a cameo, you know, sort of thing. Now, the rest of the issue is very good, though. I mean, I really like the plot of this Black Panther series, and in it, there's a trial that's going on where they're trying to determine who is sort of undermining the powers that be in Wakanda, who is killing off T'Challa's secret agents. That has all come to light. Now everyone has heard about it, at least within Wakanda. It hasn't made out of Wakanda. So they kind of have a trial to figure out who's killing the agents, who's trying to usurp what. And, of course, you know, is it the current government? Are they trying to uproot the last sort of loyalist to T'Challa? Of course, he's blamed as well, and so you have to see where that all goes. And much is revealed this issue. There's a prison break, and some heroes end up on the run, and enemies from the state. That's the most I could tell you. But this is definitely a very different role they're putting T'Challa in. It looks like a different role they're kind of putting Shuri in. Really interesting storyline. But if you're looking for Tozen, he's in it very little. Very little. So little I went back through a second time. I'm like, was he not in the background of anywhere else? And I found
When you realize you could count on one hand how many appearances he had in it.
yeah. So they're not getting to the Tozen plot line very quickly. So as far as variants, we have this Greg Land variant that's out this week. And on top of that, there is this really good Boss Logic variant for the whole Spider-Man 60th anniversary variant.
Well, I was bad, and I forgot to show off on my previous one that I did have a 1 in 25 Dunbar variant for Flashpoint Beyond number 0 that we are selling to our customers for $15. And just seeing that version of Aquaman makes me think, like, if they ever did, like, the Jason Momoa version of that, would they, like, cut his hair, like, to a military cut? So people would be outraged. How dare you cut his hair?
Not his wonderful locks.
Not his wonderful locks, but I think it'd be kind of cool to see him play Emperor Aquaman. Okay, next up is from Marvel. This is Elektra issue 100. Yes, there's been 100 issues of Elektra, and if you don't believe it, they have all the covers in here to prove it. You can count them all to make sure they got the numbering right. So, of course, Elektra does not have a current ongoing series, but she does have Daredevil, Woman Without Fear. She's a pretty big character in the main Daredevil.
And then Elektra, Black, White, and Blood has been going.
So, without having her own like main continuity title, she's still appearing a lot. So, time to celebrate her 100th issue with this. This is a lot of the anniversary issues, a lot like those where it has a kind of a main story. I'd say there's about 50% of it. It was a pretty long one with written by Ann Nocenti, and it was a story about Elektra and Typhoid Mary that does actually take place during the events of Devil's Reign, or right around there. Kingpin is mayor. You know, he's going to be marrying Typhoid Mary, so it's all right there. And it's kind of exploring what Elektra's relationship with Typhoid Mary is. All the while, there is an impending tornado coming towards New York, it's a very interesting plot device to bring these characters together. There's a lot of fighting, a lot of flashbacks, some flashbacks to one of the stories in Elektra, Black, White, and Blood. So they're building up some stuff here, which is really cool. And then it has the whole Storm story arc is pretty interesting to see how they got rid of it. Because you imagine a world of superheroes who can control weather. There's some people you can call to fix really bad weather conditions. That is our main part of this story. Then there is a really fun middle section that is like the Daily Bugle funnies, and it's a bunch of different newspaper comics with Elektra. Of course, they're parroting various different things. There's one called The Elektra Company, where Elektra and Reed Richards, but it's R-E-A-D, are going to read a book together. There is just kind of like, you know, your Peanuts version there, whatever. There's a lot of different ones that are really fun with Elektra. And then there is a story with Daredevil and Elektra by Declan Shalvey that is very, it's very weird because it is about them dancing and kind of dance fighting. And they're training and all of that, but it's very well told. The art is really good, and I really enjoyed that story too. So it is an oversized issue, but it's not huge oversized. It's probably like an issue and a quarter or something. Not huge, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Is it necessary reading for all the stuff going on with Daredevil? No, but it does enrich a lot of that.
So this dance fighting part, Do they serve some people? Does Elektra and Daredevil serve another?
Unfortunately, it's closer to ballroom dancing,
Okay,
but
all
with
right.
knives and
Oh,
blood.
that's good. Okay,
Like most ballroom dancing,
you
it does
lost me.
involve
Now I'm
some blood.
interested again.
So we have our A cover for this, the Panosian cover. And then we have a Ruin variant. Very cool. And lastly, we have this 1 in 25 Bartel variant that we are selling for 45.
So, that's Elektra with the Daredevil
Mm-hmm.
mask because she has taken on the mantle. She is also Daredevil. And I got to read a preview of Savage Avengers #1. She's on the team as Daredevil.
Yeah,
So
I
another
read
book
that
she's
too, and
in.
it is a very interesting team that they're
Yeah,
building there.
it is. So we'll be talking about that on an upcoming show when it
Yes.
officially is about to release. Okay, so I read Green Lantern #12. We haven't had a Green Lantern on the show in quite a minute, and this was supposed to be a big deal. So right on the cover, you're going to see why it's a big deal. It says John Stewart, Emerald Knight. So John Stewart undergoes a major transformation in this issue, and the last panel, you get a cameo of his new form. It isn't just a title, he is sort of a new thing altogether called the Emerald Knight. And he is getting his own series. That is announced at the end of this too. So if you want to get first appearance of John Stewart as the Emerald Knight, that is this issue. He has a cameo right at the end. Now, how does it happen? Why does it happen? I will not say. My lips are sealed. You got to go read that. But I will say this issue, something else major happens that affects all the Green Lanterns. They've all been at a big disadvantage since Future State. Something that I've been like scratching my head on going, when are they going to do something about that?
Yeah, it's like in issue 1 or issue 2 of, I think maybe issue 1 of that.
So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, something finally happens with that that I think is a good writing decision for Green Lantern. That's what I'll say.
I like the emphasis on the word.
Yeah. So good issue of Green Lantern #12. Important for the reasons that I said. There is a variant for it. We are out of the variant. I'm sorry, I do not have that to show. Somebody already snatched it up before I could grab a copy to show off.
Well, I have a big one this week for people who are fans of Sandman, for people who are fans of James Tynion.
That's a good combination.
For people who are fans of having teeth instead of eyeballs.
Ooh.
You know you're out there. This is Sandman Universe Nightmare Country. I keep wanting to call it Sandman Universe the Corinthian, but that is our I wouldn't even say protagonist in this. You can't really call him a protagonist or even an antagonist. So I will preface by saying I am not a Sandman expert. I've read some Sandman, not all of it. I am familiar with the characters enough to tread water in this, and that's okay because they do a really good job of filling you in on just the basics of the Sandman universe with who is the Corinthian, why was he created by the Dream. All of that is covered. So this actually has 2 artists. The main artist is Lissandro Efserin, and the other artist is Yannick Paquette, who has done a lot with the Sandman universe, with like the dreaming and all of that. So, what is this a book about? How do you make a book about this character with mouths for eyeballs? Well, it is actually about a couple of characters. Our first character's name is Flynn. She is seems to be like a college student. She suffers from nightmares and dreams about a person or people that have teeth for eyes, but she's an artist and she paints these things. So a little Lovecraftian type. The artist is the one who's tapped more into the grander things. And in this, she meets a guy who maybe has some similar things going on. There is he's also been having some dreams. This kind of draws them together a little bit. But the Corinthian is a kind of a not an active character in this. He kind of moves through the different characters' storylines and either kind of challenges them or makes them question things. Uh, I think the strongest part of this issue is the part that Janet Paquette does the art for, and that's more in the Sandman universe sphere. That's where we see more of the kind of supernatural parts of this. What the Corinthian, from his point of view, what he's been doing, how he's been going into different people's nightmares over time, what he's collected from their nightmares that he's brought back with them, which is a very interesting thing that is brought up in here. And uh, kind of he gives a scenario with a man that as he's grown up, how he's kind of haunted this man this his whole life. So the man doesn't even want to look in a mirror because he's afraid he'll see this the Corinthian character. But it's a very good setup issue to kind of bring you back into the Sandman world if it's been a while for you. And then at the end, there is a return of two characters that I had to look up because I wasn't familiar with, but I thought I'd heard their names. They have appeared in Sandman before, but they you meet them on a mission, and when their mission is complete, they reveal that there is someone that we've met previously in the issue that is their next target. So that's kind of, it looks like where our story is going to be involved with these two other, were they called the Endless?
Yeah.
The kind of the beings of.
They were the brethren of Dream. You got Delirium, Delight.
Yes, there's characters like that are kind of on a mission now to
Destiny.
hunt down one of our main characters. So it's a setup issue. We don't really know where this is going, but I thought it was a very strong first issue. It is very scary in when you have a character with teeth for eyes, he does do some eating. And some of the eating may even be people's fingers. So definitely a more mature book just for the scariness, the graphicness, but I think fans of this kind of thing will really enjoy it. And there is also a variant by our other artist. This is the Janet Paquette variant.
I picture the Corinthian having finger sandwiches, washing it down with saline solution.
Kind of, but very disturbing. Not the saline. Okay, we've got a 1 in 25 Jones variant that we're selling to our customers for 15. And we have a 1 in 50 Bueno variant that we're selling for 25. And his little mouth there looking through those eye peepholes. Very disturbing.
Okay, so I read the 7th issue of Venom. So the cover says a lot here because you see on it is Venom fighting Bedlam, that new villain who is getting ever closer to Dylan and the Venom symbiote. Well, this goes down. I love it when a cover is in the issue. Mm-hmm. A lot of this issue is a big drag-out fight between Venom and Bedlam. And I'm also happy to report that in the fight, Venom uses its chains. You know, because that's the difference with the Dylan Venom, is that Dylan Venom has the chains.
It was like on the cover of issue 1.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was on the free comic book day even. And, you know, like they've been there, they've been around, but the chains get used in the fight. And I was like, awesome, cool. You just don't have them for looks. They're actually getting used. So past that, everyone seems to be closing in on Dylan. From Bedlam to the Life Foundation and their people, they're all coming for him. They've all figured out where he is because, of course, him and Venom got embroiled with this like biker gang subplot. I don't know why Dylan thought it was a good idea to hang out around biker gang bars when he's trying to stay on the down low, but that's what happened. In fact, Dylan made friends with the owner of one of the bars, who is in some dire sort of just he's bad things are going to happen to that guy in this issue. You'll just have to see what happens. But really, a lot of it is a really good fight between Bedlam and Venom, where we get to learn how tough is Bedlam. What is he? Is there something in him? How can you kill him? Can you hurt him? That's what this issue is. Past that, there's no major first or anything like that. Just another good progressive issue. There's really nothing with Eddie in it too much either. So it's a very Dylan centric issue this time. So we have the Woods variant. And then we have a 1 in 25 Magno variant. We're selling to our customers for $30. Watch out for that spittle. That's probably
feel it.
at least mostly acidic.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely on that pH scale. It's pretty up there. Okay, so next up, I read Superman, Son of Kal-El, number 10. And I gotta say, this is one of my favorite issues so far, and for funny reasons. It's not necessarily for Jonathan Kent, but Lois Lane is super cool in this issue. So in this issue, Lex Luthor is basically doing a big press conference of just trashing Jonathan Kent Superman, like he does. You know, Kal-El's gone. He's got to move on to the next Superman because what is his life if not trying to trash Superman? So this is a big nationwide thing. He's showing all the things that he has seen that Jonathan has done wrong, how they shouldn't support him. But at this point, everybody knows that Clark Kent was Superman, and so they know Jonathan Kent was his son, and they know Lois Lane is his mother. But she's still a member of the press, and she is also at this press conference and stands up and does one of the most Lois Lane moves. You'll have to read it, but it's just one of those moments where you realize how cool of a character she is and how good she is at her job. It's super cool. I really enjoyed that. But along with that, we do get Batman coming in here, which, it's interesting to see along the line how different characters have reacted to Jonathan Kent taking over the Superman role. And one of the big ones is Batman. Like, he's kind of leader number 2 in the Justice League and everything. And without giving anything away, he definitely says something, kind of the final line in this, that I think I said in my notes that he says something that we've all been thinking, but it finally is out there in the open about the trustworthiness of certain characters. I'll say that. Yeah, so
you told me when you read it, and I was like, I called it. I knew it.
Yes. So very interesting issue. I'll be very excited to read the next one to see how this plays out, if Batman's information is correct, all of that. But if you're a Lois Lane fan, read this because she's super cool in this issue, and I'm a big fan of her. So this is our A cover. And then we have the DeMeo, if you couldn't tell from those colors and that kind of glow, the Simon DeMeo variant.
Yeah, Bendis did a great job of writing Lois in the Leviathan comics as well. She was incredible in that,
She can go up against superheroes with her brain and her wit, and I think that is the strong Lois.
Yeah. Okay, so I read a different kind of Batman. Batman 89, issue number 5. So this is the second to last issue of this series. It's a 6-issue miniseries. I've enjoyed it immensely.
It's been a long time coming. I think we initially did our orders back in January.
I was about to mention just that. So the worst part of this was delayed a ton. Mm-hmm. And it really sucks that it lost sort of the momentum it was on, because it was just such a great read that I looked forward to, and then it was just off the radar. Mm-hmm. And it's back this week, though. So this, of course, is written by the person who wrote the first 2 Batman movies, Sam Hamm. We're talking about the Michael Keaton Batman movies, and he gets to continue that universe he was writing, but in comic form, which I think is wonderful. And it really makes me want to see this lost Tim Burton Sam Hamm movie that I have been reading. So this issue, it's more of what has been going on. If 5 issues in, they're not going to, have some first appearance or anything that's major, but It was good. If you like the first four, you're going to enjoy this one. My favorite part is the Batmobile gets a new power I've never seen. So Sam Hamm has dreamed up one more thing the Batmobile can do that I think is awesome. I think it's within the realm of Batman's tech,
Mm-hmm.
and I would love to see it in a movie. So wait till
Okay.
you see that part in this. Past that, there is a lot more with Two-Face and Barbara Gordon, because in this they had a relationship right before
Yeah.
the face got messed up. So we get to see them kind of reunited, and who's going to side with who? Will she be able to turn him good? Will he be able to get her to understand why he's doing the evil he's doing? You get to see where that goes, and it's exciting. And the last thing is Catwoman. She's on the cover, and I have to say, she is the wild card of this whole thing. So wait to see what Catwoman does this issue. Another excellent issue of Batman 89, issue number 5. So sad for the long wait for it, but it was worth it. And we have a Adam Hughes variant.
Always happy to see Adam Hughes draw Catwoman.
Yep,
That's just like one of his signature characters.
and I think that the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman was always a little bit of his muse.
Yeah.
In a lot of them, so he was just a perfect choice for this.
Especially her suit, the all leather,
stitching,
the way
with the
the
stitches
stitching, and okay. So next up is super. I don't want to say super weird, but it's a very interesting thing that Marvel has decided to do with X-Men 92 House of 92. Now, this is even closer of a story to what is currently going on in the X-Men books than I even thought it would be. So, what is this? This is taking our X-Men from 1992, the kind of classic suits of them, Cyclops is in the blue with the yellow, Wolverine is in the yellow and the blue, Jean's got her classic costume. Everyone looks like classic X-Men.
Is Jubilee in this?
I gotta get to it.
Okay, all right.
Jubilee is actually a very important part of this book.
Then they're doing it right.
Like, to the point of, she might be closer to how Myra was in the original House and Powers. So, this is, I would imagine this would kind of start halfway through the original House of X and Powers of 10 story. In this, the X-Men are meeting with senators and rulers in the world, basically being like, look, we've set up Krakoa. You should see us as a real nation. We're not taking up any land that was anybody else's. So it's kind of jumping into that point of it. But I gotta say, the 1992 version seems to be going a lot better than it did with the other version. Everyone's just in a better mood. Everyone's like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. Good for you. There's still a lot of like missions going on for the X-Men. One mainly involving the Sentinels and Trask trying to upgrade his Sentinels to the next level. That is a big part of the beginning of this issue. But a lot of this issue is kind of doing that fun, like, look at how the comparison is. So you have characters like Cable's in this, Bishop's in this, Deadpool's in this, all of these characters, but with the how this version of Krakoa is going. They even have their own version of the Five, the 5 mutants that can bring a mutant back to life. And it's funny to see them, but in costumes of that time frame, which I don't even know if all those characters were around at that point, but they get the look. Also,
they were not.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them were not. Sporadically through this is some fun, very of the times pages that are like almost like a Krakoa newsletter that is like funky shapes and very 90s looking. Jean Grey even has a panel of jokes that she tells, all X-Men related. There's kind of a breakdown of who the 5 are and what their abilities. It's all kind of with the lingo of the 90s. It's very fun. But the big thing I'll say in this is the driving force that has brought all of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, the X-Men, Morlocks, any group you can think of. Like in the original one, something brought them together and they went to Krakoa. The thing that did in this was Jubilee. Now, I don't want to give away too much, but it's not good for Jubilee. We'll say that. And I need a little bit more explanation why Magneto would really care about Jubilee too much. But it's kind of implied that what happened with Jubilee was the spark that brought all of mutantdom together. Now, that being said, like in every version of the X-Men, Professor X and Magneto, um, they've got their secrets. And I'll leave it with that. You can never trust those two. They think they've got the best plan in mind. But I think this is a great book for people who have read House and Powers for sure, because that's kind of the fun of seeing the comparison. It still works as a standalone story if you haven't read those. It's still really fun. Great to see all the characters back in their original costumes. So if you're a fan of what's currently going on in the X-Men and that story, check it out. And if you're a fan of the cartoon show, all of that, also very similar. And the last thing I want to point out, and it may just be me seeing this, but on the final page, like with all of the X books, there is the reading timeline. And this is on the reading timeline. Now, I don't think this was ever meant to be part of continuity, but it is very odd that it is in there with the new Knights of really X strange. #1, Marauders, all of that. It is in a reading order.
Man, I hope somehow it does overlap in, or one of the characters.
I mean,
joins the regular Marvel.
I don't know. I could think long and hard about, you've got your characters that are so messed up in the current continuity. What if the 92 X-Men came in and saw that? I don't know. It feels kind of like the thing Bendis did. Other thing I'll note, Wolverine is really short in this, and I really like it. He's like a little scrapper, and I like when they use him that way. So that's my long explanation for this book, but I think it needed it because it is a very strange book that Marvel has chosen to do. We've got some great variants for it. We have the David Nakayama variant. All these are so good. I think it's just my age, and seeing the characters in these costumes just makes me really happy. So that one. We've got the Scott Williams variant, which is more classic. We've got the Talaski variant. This is a 1 in 25 that we are selling for $30 to our customers. There is some good Gambit talk in this as well, with his phonetic speech that is just great. But I think that is it for those.
I like when Wolverine's little too, because that makes it easier for him and Colossus to do the
fastball special.
The fastball special, exactly. So, okay. I read What If Miles Morales Became Wolverine. This is the second issue in this mini-series of What If Miles Morales. The first thing I'll say is I was wondering how much these would connect. So in the first one, he was Captain America, and it seemed like maybe it was going to connect in a little. Mm-hmm. This one does not connect in at all. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to bring them all together. I believe in the solicitations it actually said in the last issue they all get brought together. But this does not give a hint as to why. So this is a just total new telling of the Weapon X program and the aftermath of it. So Weapon X, of course, made Wolverine who he is. Well, what if Miles went through Weapon X? But it's different. It's a different time period. It's a different place. He's not up in Canada. None of that. This is definitely on American soil. It's just a total retelling. They're just like, hey, let's come up with this whole new Weapon X thing. How would Miles get drawn into it back in like the 80s? It starts in 1981. How did he get pulled into it? Then what did he have to endure? And then what does it make him? Because the rest of it's set in modern day, and he's been Wolverine for a long time now. Who can stand up to him? Who are his friends? Who are his enemies? He goes through a lot of pain in this. He goes through some struggle. He gets beat down in a battle really, really, really badly. There's somebody who has just the right sort of armor to fight a Wolverine character. There's other character switches too. Okay, it's not just Miles as Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
There are, of course, other people from Miles' lives who take on other roles that you would see more in Wolverine's life. But I'd say the best is, and I can't reveal it, but the best is when you see who is Professor X. There is a different character who is Professor X, and you get to fully see the character as Professor X, and it made me chuckle. It fit real well for what the material is. So if that sounds good to you, if you want to read just a real cool one shot where it's just a retelling of Weapon X, but in the U.S. with Miles Morales instead becoming Wolverine, this is it. And I believe we will see him again once they do the last issue where you get all the Miles that they've created together for some reason. So we've got some variants. We have the Shalvey variant. Then we have the 1 in 10 Medina design variant we're selling to our customers for $20. And lastly, we have the 1 in 25 Pacheco variant that we're selling for $35.
Awesome. Well, feels like we haven't had some Star Wars books in a while, at least more than one. But we do this week. So we have Star Wars Darth Vader issue number 22. Both Star Wars and Darth Vader this week are both on issue 22. This is still part of the Crimson Reign storyline. It's been a lot of fun. This one is super cool. Just this is more of Vader doing what he does best, finding a situation and then taking it over. So in the previous one, he basically took a whole portion of Crimson Dawn and was like, nah, I'm gonna lead this one now, and he is now using them and pitting them against the Empire. You have to read it to find out why. This also deals a lot with Ochi and his allegiances, which have kind of flip-flopped all through the series, but he's that kind of person. Really cool. But I think the big part of this is, once again, Star Wars does this really well in their books. The final page thing that happens, this time involving Sabe, the handmaiden for Padme that has been with Vader through this story. She drops some knowledge that is really cool. Once again, makes me want to read the next issue. So, really cool issue of Darth Vader. Just, Vader is kind of a book that you want to read as just like a power fantasy of just like, I know he's not going to lose. I just want to see how good he wins.
So, I feel bad for every person he comes up against in his books.
Yeah, it's just like, well, we know he's not going anywhere, so, and we haven't seen these other characters again, so something bad is going to happen. But great issue.
Except Ochi. Ochi is the one I was like, when they originally brought him in, it's like, oh, you're so getting beat down, but they've
there's
kept
even
him around.
a novel coming out, even though we know where he ends up from the movies. There's a book coming out that he's going to be in a novel as a one of the central characters in it, which I think is awesome. Like, the comics have really fleshed him out to where he is a viable character for other writers to use. Speaking of, we have this Traders of Dawn variant. This is the Renaud variant with Ochi on it. He's such a fun character to read too. And we have this 1 in 25 Inco variant that we are selling for $25.
All right, so I read Wonder Woman issue 786. It is another part of the Trial of the Amazons. What a cover. Look at that. Wonder Woman fighting Yara Flor. I mean, they're just locked in mortal combat. Just
I can't wait to read that.
Just the sort of thing you want to see. Unfortunately, you will not see it in this issue. This does not happen. Nothing remotely happens in this issue that looks like this. I hope it's next issue, but I always have to comment on how much the cover is actually reflected. It's a great cover too. So the trial begins. Finally. I mean, this starts out, and they if you've been reading all of them, they've taken their time to get along to the trial starting. They name the different people who've been in the trial. There, of course, are 4 different people. They're representing the 3 different Amazon tribes, and then Wonder Woman herself is like, I'm just in on my own.
Yeah.
And they're like, great, you're so awesome, you can do that. So the trial begins, but surprise, surprise, it gets disrupted right off the bat. Now, once it begins, though, it cannot actually get sidetracked or off course. Like once the trial starts, they're in it.
Mm-hmm.
But something happens where they're not doing what you would expect at the trials. They have bigger fish to fry right off the bat, where they might even have to rely on each other, even though they're supposed to be in this competition. Past that, at least one thing that has come out of Doom's doorway is finally revealed. I don't think this is the major thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to get even bigger from there. So that's what I have to say on that. There is a variant for it, but we are out of that one as well.
Cool. Do we know how many more parts of that there are?
Oh, yes, there are 2 more parts after this.
Okay.
It's a 7-part series, and that was part number 5.
Okay, cool. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it ends and then what is going to come out of it on the other side.
I have my predictions on who's going to win the trial, but we'll see. So I think it's going to be Yara Flor, but
wow,
I don't know.
Place your bets. Okay, so next off, just briefly mention this. Batman Catwoman issue 11 of 12. Feels like the series has been going on a long time. What was originally intended to be a final part of Tom King's Batman run is finally kind of coming to a close. I will say that this has been a very interesting book over the course of these 11 issues, and I will have to reread it as a whole to fully grasp what's going on. But Tom King is telling a story here through 3 different timelines that is pretty intense, but I feel like most of it is about Catwoman, and these last few issues have been a lot about Catwoman and her daughter, Helena, becoming the new Batwoman, and kind of how she is like her father and everything. Also, a lot with the Joker, pretty much all in a Christmas setting. Joker has some fun Christmas activities, like mistaking he throws a box at of Batman, and they like duck bomb. He's like, oh, I forgot, that's a fruit cake. I always get him confused. So there's pretty fun jokes in here as well with Joker. But we only have 1 issue left of Batman Catwoman. And the art by Clayman in this is beautiful. So if you need a reason to read this, his art is incredible. I hope he continues on working on Batman stuff because it's so good. We also have a Jim Lee variant. He's been doing variants for all of these. Really cool. And we have the Travis Charest variant.
Okay, so I read Captain Carter #2. So this is also sort of an alternate world timeline story where Peggy Carter is more like Captain Britain. She's just Captain Carter because she worked for the British government during World War II. She got frozen, she got thawed out, and she's trying to fit into our timeline, our modern day timeline, even though she's over in England. So this is more of that. She's trying to fit in, and a lot of what has changed isn't just... The first issue had some funny parts where she's having to learn about technology and cell phones and stuff like that. In this, it's more she learns how our world has changed socially and politically from her time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, throughout history, things like that have waxed and waned and changed, but from her time in World War II to now, she was very in lockstep with her government. She really felt like she could trust them, that they would do no harm back then. World War II, for all the ills, it also brought a lot of people together to fight the evils that were going on. Well, in this, she starts kind of learning that her modern British government may be using her, and maybe they're taking her good reputation and using it to hide up their bad politics and their bad policies.
Hmm.
She does some good stuff. It's her with they call her Lizzie, but it's Elizabeth Braddock, which those of you may not know, Betsy Braddock, her real first name is Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
It's Elizabeth Betsy Braddock. So she's sort of her second in charge. The two of them go off to do some good stuff. They think they do good, but really because of the policies of the government, it ends up really hurting a lot of people. And so she's unhappy about this. What's going to happen when the powers that be over in the British government decide that maybe she's more of a liability than what she's worthwhile? Well, you know what's going to happen. Something bad.
Mm-hmm.
So that's generally what's going on. In Captain Carter issue 2, there is this Aspinall variant for it out as well.
It's a cool variant. Okay, next up I have Star Wars issue 22. They've fallen in step, Darth Vader and Star Wars. And after reading it, this cover is actually kind of funny because one of the notable things in this, I don't know how notable, but it's cool when it happens. Chewbacca basically has his own version of the Danger Room. His own version of simulating events. Now, someone mentions, I think Leia mentions, that a lot of it's in his head. But he's programmed some remotes, training remotes, to mimic Jabba's guards. And Chewbacca is running scenarios of how to rescue Han out of Jabba's palace. And so, in one part, it's not really a spoiler because it doesn't really happen. You see Chewbacca taking on Boba Fett, Dengar, all of the bounty hunters, and he is just blowing through them. It is very entertaining to see this kind of what if Chewbacca just went on a rage through Jabba's palace. What this issue is mainly about is Kira has kind of, her ship has docked up with Home One, which is Leia's current ship, and Kira wants to offer Leia some help, which of course Leia does not completely trust, but so far Kira has kind of been on the up and up about everything and what her intentions are, so they might end up working together. It's kind of interesting to see Han's current love interest and his ex kind of becoming hesitant friends. So that is part of this issue. The other part of the issue is Kez Dameron is going to try and rescue his wife, Shara Bay, from that Star Destroyer that she is having to hide out on, and it doesn't go well. You'll have to read it to see, but it was a really fun issue of Star Wars, and I've enjoyed this Crimson Reign story arc a lot. This is our A cover. We also have our Sprouse Lucasfilm 50th Anniversary variant with Rey and Kylo. We have the John Tyler Christopher action figure variant with everybody's favorite character, Rebel Commando. I've seen if they gave him any name at all, but they didn't. It's Rebel Commando. And we have this really nice Rod Rice cover. It's very poster-esque. We also have this 1 in 25 Raza variant. We're selling to our customers for $30, but super cool Chewbacca variant.
Okay, so I read Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 37. So the first thing I wanted to know about this issue, it's been announced, okay, this is, not a spoiler, that Miles is going to be running into his sister Billy, who, in his world, Billy is still a child.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's now, Miles is in the multiverse right now, and he's going to run into a different version of her where she's grown up and she's become a hero called Spider Smasher. Possibly an anti-hero, hard to say. But we don't know when that's going to happen exactly. They said issue 38, but we know with Marvel they like to cameo things in issue before. I will tell you, it does not happen in this one. There is no Billy as Spider Smasher in this issue. He does end up in her universe right at the end, but she is not in it yet. So I think that's what a lot of people were wondering. That's what I was wondering when I opened it up. So past that, we have Miles and Shift, who are in the multiverse looking for his uncle Aaron, who was Prowler. And they end up in this weird area where they end up fighting Ultimatum. So Ultimatum is the Miles Morales from Earth 616. You know, from the normal, because we know Miles is from that other universe.
Yeah, from the Ultimate Universe.
Correct. And so the Miles from the regular Marvel universe is not a good guy. He's a villain. So big battle between Miles and Shift and Ultimatum. And yes, they do bring up the fact they're both named Miles and how it annoys them. So you'll have to see how that battle goes. But ultimately, in this issue, they're going to end up in an even more dangerous universe. One where spiders are hunted. It is the storyline for this coming up is called Empire of the Spider. And this is going to be where Billy is going to enter as the Spider Smasher. But it is not in this issue. It will be next issue. So there's my little preview on Miles number 37. And here is the variants. We have the Macone variant. Miles looking kind of scared.
Kind of startled.
Yep. And here's this really awesome Kale New variant. Really made the new outfit pop and look good on this one.
Okay. Next up for me, I've got X-Men number 10. And as you can see on the cover, this is a very Laura Kinney Wolverine-focused issue where she is going on a kind of a rescue mission to a Orchid base, which are the kind of the current bad guys for the X-Men. And you can maybe get an idea on the cover who she's going to go up against, who she might be saving. Good issue, and not that it's like a filler issue, but it feels like we're getting close to this Game World storyline that's coming up, which this leads into at the very end. And there is I don't want to say return, because the character didn't really, not like they died or anything, but they haven't been in anything for a while. There's a return of a fan favorite character that if they're going to be appearing in the next few issues on Game World, it's going to be a lot of fun. So you'll have to think about who that might be. Someone who would be in space and maybe enjoy a casino or two. So really fun issue of X-Men focusing on Wolverine. We've got the variants for that. We have the Wernick trading card variant with Dr. Stasis on it. And we also have this one, which is super cool. This is the Mana variant for Spider-Man, but we get to see what if Cyclops and Jean Grey were Spider-Man. Really cool suits there. So
okay, so now we're going to go over the independent comics, some of which we have gotten to read advanced copies of. These did not arrive at our shop on time today. They're going to be here tomorrow, so if you shop with us, don't worry. We'll have them in your box and on the shelf in time. So here's how we're going to handle this. We have the covers right here. So I'm going to start by talking about this series. It is called Breakout. It is a new independent 4-issue series over at Dark Horse by writer Zach Kaplan. He is the person who is behind Port of Earth, with art by Wilton Santos. So Zach Kaplan, the writer, he was nice enough. He phoned our shop yesterday and talked with Jenny, who works here. And I really like that when when writers and artists, go that extra mile.
Yeah.
It's always like, that's really cool. I was already slated to read this. I was already interested in it, but it made me even more want to.
Yeah.
So the premise is pretty cool. This is a alien book, sort of. So pretty much it's set in our world, modern times, and aliens or something like them are abducting kids. It's people between the ages of 11 and 20, and they have taken a lot of people. This has been going on a long time. I think like 200,000 people have been taken. And all of our weapons won't work. Nothing can stop them. And it's gone on so long that our main character, his name is Liam. He is the one right there, front left a little. From my orientation.
Yeah. Not from his.
And so Leon is our narrator, and he talks a lot about the new normal. And the new normal is what happens when aliens just take away kids nonstop every single day, and we shoot everything we have at them, and this goes on for, years, it becomes a new normal. Like, instead of fighting against it, basically all the adults of the world are like, that's terrible, but what can we do? We just have to keep living our life. Why are they doing that? Why are they doing this? Who are they? And how can they possibly be stopped? Well, Liam's brother was taken, and he is tired of people kind of having a defeatist attitude about it. He has a plan. You will learn by the end of this issue what is this plan. He has to put together a small group of specialized people to go through with his plan to try to break his brother out and try to break the grip that these aliens or people have over our world. I thought it was a very good first issue. Excellent, excellent art. I kind of wonder how they're going to tell this big of a story in 4 issues.
Mm-hmm.
The first issue covered a lot of ground, but I think this should have deserved 5 or 6 issues. But I think the writing will probably hold up for it. So if you like a good sci-fi story, I recommend you check out the first issue of Breakout, out tomorrow.
Okay, then just right before we started the show, it actually delayed us starting the show a little bit, it became available for me to read Image 30th. So this is celebrating Image's 30th anniversary since they started with a new year-long anthology book. So it's interesting. This has multiple stories in it. I'm guessing this is oversized. I didn't hold it actually in my hand, but I imagine
it is. It's 68 pages. So
I just kept reading and reading until it was size. Over. And this is really cool. So we get some of our kind of stables of working at Image and some new names doing some stories of characters we know and some new ones. Starting off, we have a new Jeff Johns story. And it's Jeff Johns, and the artist's name is Mutti. Mutti is his last name. And it is called Blizzard. And it's a very interesting story of a man who has been convicted of murder, and he's going to trial and everything, but with a final page twist that definitely makes it much more in the realm of independent, maybe horror comic. We'll have to see. And a few of these books are going to be in every single one of them. So this is a part 1 of a 12-part story. Some are just a one and done story, but that's going to be one of our main ones. Also, we have a story by Declan Shalvey called Old Dog. It's a very, like Liam Neeson's Taken, kind of an older guy just beating people up, trying to get to the goal. We've got a young romance story that turns violent. We've got a very funny Scotty Young story where Scotty Young is the main character in it, and he can't figure out what to write a story about because Image has asked him to write one, and he can't think of anything. And so he goes to the different members of his family and asks them for ideas for stories, and apparently just none of them like him too much. It's very funny. There's a new America Andolfo story, Erica Henderson, a new Radiant Black story about that character we just talked about called Shift from the last issue of Radiant Black, that's written by Kyle Higgins, a very noir story. And it does tell you in the end of it, the next issue is going to have a new Ice Cream Man story. It's going to have the return of Chris Gerusso's G-Man. So it looks like they are exploring kind of all facets of Image, its history, what's to come, some stuff from the past. Really cool. And I believe there's only the one cover for this. So
yeah, just the one.
Yeah, get on pull for this because one, I think some of these ongoing stories, there's a couple of them, are going to be really cool. But you never know what's going to be coming up in this. And as it goes on, stores will lower their numbers, and you never know what could be revealed in this. What, are we going to get a Spawn story? Are we going to get a return to Invincible? Are we going to get, any number of things in this? I'm sure there's a lot of surprises.
Some Walking Dead.
Very well could be some Walking Dead in this. Not in this first issue, but it does look like we're getting new and old content. And for 12 issues, I think we're going to see a lot of surprises. So definitely don't miss out on this one. I think as this goes on, this is going to be something we're going to be talking about quite a bit.
All right, so another Image book out tomorrow is Nocterra #9. Right before the show, I was able to get a preview copy of this, and I read it. It's a very cool issue. I mean, the art on this is just so fantastic. Just look at this cover. And in this, Val and her team, they capture Blacktop Bill, but they need him for a certain reason. So they're traveling with Blacktop Bill, which is great. You know, it's time for them to have some interaction.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can't have it where the villain is always winning because he's just going to kill the heroes. You got to have the heroes where they have the upper hand for a minute so you can get that sort of interaction and such. So some really good moments with them having to travel with Bill, with him even sort of helping them in a way. But, you know, how much is he really helping them? Also, there's what I'm almost positive about this. It's the first appearance of a new Blacktop character who is maybe even more tough than Bill. His name also happens to be Bill. But Blacktop Bill explains that he got everyone to call him William. So he's Blacktop William.
Doesn't roll off the tongue as well.
I think Scott Snyder was having a good time when he wrote this. But he is like sort of like, at least he's presenting himself to be a tougher, meaner Blacktop Bill. So
if that's possible.
First appearance of Blacktop William in this issue. So another good one. And then lastly, a surprise preview of a new comic. This has been in ads and such, but you get some pages from it. It is a new book from Charles Soule and Ryan Brown called 8 Billion Genies. And the premise is that everyone on the planet suddenly gets a genie, these little cute genies, and all of us have one wish, but that's it. So who's going to use theirs first? Who's going to use theirs next? Who's going to hold off? Who's going to wait? What are we all going to wish for? That's the premise. Really good looking preview. I can't wait to read that book. So that's also, that was surprisingly at the end of Nocterra, this issue. And then we got the 2 variant covers. Here is the B cover variant. And we have the C cover variant.
Next up, we have King Spawn #9. Not a whole lot to say about this because I have not read it yet. But if you've been reading King Spawn, really good series. The kind of the darker of the Spawn books. And also want to note that this one does have a variant, but it is a sketch variant. So very odd to not have a traditional B cover, but I do know Todd McFarlane is putting out sketch covers for a lot of the books, even going back to Spawn #1 is going to be having a sketch cover coming out. So really cool, and don't want you to miss out on the next issue of King Spawn.
Also coming out this week is Midnight Rose. It is a one-shot. I think it's like triple sized for Aftershock. Aftershock is publishing it. It's by Jim Starlin. So if you want another cool Jim Starlin, he tends to do stories that have to do with space, but also loneliness and love. They're usually vaguely creepy. You know, you gotta wonder how much of himself he put into the Thanos he wrote.
I was about to say, yeah, Thanos' infatuation with death is just a romance for the time.
I mean, look at the cover here. You know, all the bones surrounding.
Very weird.
Yeah. So that's also out this week. I do not have an advanced copy, and ours isn't here yet, but we just want to tell you what else to look for and what we know about it currently. Just the one cover on it.
Next up, we have something that a lot of people are eagerly anticipating. For a lot of people, they looked last week and it said, oh, this is supposed to be out last week. But the release date was last week, but the shipping information was this week. So Diamond's got a little bit off. Some people were confused, but it's coming out this week. This is G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, 40th anniversary special of, I guess it's 40th anniversary of G.I. Joe altogether, or is it the 40th anniversary of this issue coming out?
It's of G.I. Joe.
Okay. So this retells or redoes issue 21 of the original G.I. Joe series, which is the famous silent issue, the focusing on Snake Eyes. This time, much like what Marvel has done recently, each page is done by a different artist. So if you want to see this story reinterpreted with different art, this will be really cool. I'm very excited about this. Plus, it says there is some new material by Larry Hama in this. So If I want anyone writing my G.I. Joe, it's Larry Hama. This will be very cool to see.
And of course, that's that cover from the silent issue,
Mhm.
G.I. Joe 21. So if you ever see this cover out in the wild, grab it.
Grab it for me.
That's
Thanks.
a big one. Okay, there's also a new one being launched called A Town Called Terror. This is by Steve Niles, who did 30 Days of Night.
Mhm.
This is a new horror series. He's supposed to be doing a marriage of crime and horror, which I think go very well together. You don't
Yeah.
see them put together too often, but when they mix them together, it usually works out pretty well. At least then it makes sense for your characters are to be having guns. They're robbing a bank, but then, there's vampires. Well, time to fight.
Oh yeah, I love that classic vampire in a bank story.
Yeah, all the time. So that's another one that's coming out this week, and here is the variant for that. Very
It's a nice man.
Freddy Krueger
It is.
vibes here. And Andy, did we get to talk about the Hulk?
No, that's why I
Okay.
had it floating here.
Okay, let me get rid of this.
Didn't get to
window.
mention this, but I was surprised last week or week before that when Hulk Grand Design came out, and where was the Peach Momoko cover? I was wanting this one with She-Hulk on it.
It was late.
This one got delayed. Same book on the interior, but if you were waiting for the Peach Momoko cover, it is out this week. Awesome, awesome cover. So just got spread out a little bit, but it is here now.
Okay, so that is our show for this week. Thank you for watching. We hope we have done our job and we have told you about these books without spoiling the read. We've told you which ones you might want to grab. Described it enough that you know which sounds like a good read, which ones sound like good in case you're just like specking trying to get the first appearances and major things. That is our goal every single week, even when they don't all arrive.
Yep.
We do the best we can to gather them from any source
We're
we
scrappy.
can. Yeah, exactly. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. We are well over 1,500 subscribers now. So let's head on to 1,600.
Why stop now?
On our next stop, 2,000. So thank you all for watching. We'll be back on Friday with comics from the future. Have a great rest of your week.